Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Toned In Entertainment, where we're talking all things pop culture. Today, it's time to continue with our comic book discussion of the WCW comic book from 1992. Now this is issue number 9. We've got Scott and Rick, the Steiner Brothers, on the cover, and this issue is called Bad News. Issue 9 starts off with the return of Johnny B. Bad coming back from his vacation that Paul E. and the Dangerous Alliance so thoughtfully sent him on. Now it appears that Johnny B. Bad has spent his time taking in Alaskan sights without a change of clothes, but luckily for him, a bus driver named Lucy was so kind to bring the bad man back home. As Johnny B. Bad makes his walk back, he says that payback is in store for Paul E. and his boys. We get a flashback of what happened backstage the night Johnny B. Bad was abducted. Johnny B. Bad was interviewing the Stinger, but right after the interview he was attacked by the Dangerous Alliance and put into a shipping container marked "Shipped to Alaska." Johnny was able to break out of the shipping container, and while trying to hitchhike, he was lucky enough that Lucy, the bus driver, saw him, was a fan, and picked him up, and now he's able to resume his announcing obligations. Now just as Johnny B. Bad returns to ringside, he sees that the Ghoul has teamed up with a much darker Sting. Now they've redone the Ghoul's look here in this issue, and it's so badass. The Ghoul asks Johnny B. Bad that if WCW's very own Eskimo Pie can take the heat. The Black Stinger says he can't believe he associated with that Little Richard wannabe. Now Johnny B. Bad focuses on what's really important and asks the Black Stinger what he's done with his hair. Jim Ross down at ringside calling the matches reiterates that Sting must still be suffering from that vicious blow to the head, causing him to have personality disorder due to the hands of Cactus Jack, and that he aligned himself with his former enemy, and that they will be taking on the Steiner Brothers in a non-title match. Now Johnny B. Bad has officially returned to the booth with JR to call a commentary. This time they're teaming up with the future governor of Minnesota, Jesse the Body Ventura. You can tell right off the top that there's going to be some bickering back and forth, with the Body telling Johnny B. Bad that as far as he's concerned, Johnny B. Bad's talents are limited to the ring, and that he will continue to be the journalist in WCW to tell it like it is. With the Black Stinger in the ring, we see a sea of boos going throughout the crowd. Coming down to ringside, the WCW Tag Team Champs, the Steiner Brothers. Still in disbelief of the Stinger's new persona, Scott says, "Come on, Sting, say you're not kidding us here." Rick then says how they fought together and that he shouldn't be hanging out with a chump like the Ghoul. While the Steiners wait outside the ring, Black Stinger tells them, "Get in here, you big sissies, come on." Even the dog-faced gremlin is smart enough to know that his buddy Sting is brainwashed. Just as the match begins, Rick Steiner gets the quick upper hand with a headlock and then into a bulldog. With his raw power, Rick hoists Black Stinger over his head with ease. And the Ghoul, pretty weirdly drawn here, seems quite concerned for his partner's well-being. Rick tosses Black Sting to the mat, hoping a bump on the head will jar his memory. As Rick tries to capitalize, he's greeted with a poke to the eyes and a big boot. Now tags are made by both teams, and it's time for the Ghoul and Scott Steiner to square off. As the Ghoul gets the upper hand, Scott exclaims that his breath stinks like the crypt. But that insult just gets him a big boot. Right after the Ghoul tags in the Black Stinger, he slaps Scott Steiner into the Scorpion Deathlock. Rick tells him to hold on, but Black Stinger tells Scott that he hopes he enjoyed his legs because they're about to go the way of the dinosaurs. Luckily for Scott Steiner, he's able to reverse the Scorpion Deathlock into a figure 4. Sting is able to make the tag, and the Ghoul comes back into the ring and continues to bring the pain to Scott Steiner with what looks more like of a chokehold than a headlock. Rick tries to get in and save his brother, but the ref stops him in his tracks, allowing the Ghoul to toss him over the top rope. Even though Scott has taken a hard bump to the outside, this is not the end of the Ghoul's plans to continue bringing the pain. The Ghoul clears the broadcast table. Scott is on the ground pleading for the match to end, but the Ghoul could care less about Scott's pleading and sends him crashing through the announce table. Inside the ring, Black Stinger and Rick square off again. The Black Stinger is in complete control with a knee strike and then sends Rick flying headfirst into the turnbuckle. And as the dog-faced gremlin sits woozy in the corner, the Black Stinger shows he has not forgotten everything and hits him with his signature Stinger Splash. Sting then tags the Ghoul in, who hits Rick repeatedly with several unique moves and gets the 1, 2, 3. As the Ghoul and Black Stinger make their way back to the dressing room, the only thing Johnny B. Bad can say is he doesn't like this one bit. Now here's a really cool 2-page spread as we have a huge helping of superstars at the buffet table. Just look here, we've got the Z-Man, Ron Simmons, Flyin Brian Pillman, Marcus aka Buff Bagwell, the Russian Nightmare Nikita Kolof, Van Hammer, not sure who the guy is next to him. Then we have Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in the headband and Big Josh at the end in the red cap. Now on the other side of the table, I believe that's Paul Lee at the end, and I think that's Michael Hayes standing right next to them, since we have Jimmy Garvin coming up next. And rounding out the table is beautiful Bobby Eaton, Steve Austin, Arn Anderson, and Cactus Jack. Now here at the bottom of the issue, we have young Bobby Sandor from issue 8's Wish Upon a Star. Bobby has now been released from the hospital and is thanking them for throwing him a birthday party. He also says that he followed Sting's advice of taking his medicines and turning his negatives into positives, and that his life would turn around for the best. And he's looking forward to having the best birthday ever and sharing it with the Stinger. Well, unfortunately for young Bobby, I don't think he's going to get his wish, because Black Stinger comes crashing through the door. Black Stinger exclaims, "Get lost, Squirt, no kids backstage." Ricky Steamboat tells Black Stinger he's been a different man since hanging out with the Ghoul. Nikita Kolof agrees and asks him how he can be so heartless. Little Bobby pleads with Sting that all he wants to do is share his birthday with his hero. Bobby even tells him his mom made the cake just for this occasion. Sting asks him if that's chocolate cake. Bobby says yes. Sting exclaims, "I hate chocolate cake," and then proceeds to break little Bobby's heart and smashes it all over the ground. Sting says that everybody take note. Mess with us and you'll end up like this brown stuff on my boots. Looking on in the background, Ron Simmons thinks the pressure has been too much for Sting to handle. Nikita says the truth is that Sting has turned heel. Johnny B. Bad tries to reason with the Black Stinger, but all he gets is a boot to the face for his troubles. Now back in the locker room, Black Stinger is trying to fight off these evil thoughts he's been having. And Sting remembers that every time he gets close to remembering who he is, the Ghoul and Max mess him up even more. And just as it looks like Sting might get his memory back, the Ghoul and Max appear and are able to make sure Black Stinger stays under their control. On the final page of this issue, Black Stinger stands tall and says, "I am Black Stinger. I am the champ, and he's going to take everyone down in WCW one by one, starting with Johnny B. Bad. And that it'll be raining tears all across the world as millions of little Stingers cry themselves to sleep." Max says, "Sounds like fun." Alright guys, well that's going to do it for issue number 9 of the WCW comic book. You know, we're really hitting full gear here, as we've only got 3 issues left in this series. And in issue number 10, we've got Johnny B. Bad on the cover. Now let me tell you, this magazine actually was really hard to find to complete the collection. This issue I actually had to get off eBay, and it came from the UK, so I'm hoping it's a really good read, and it's going to take us into issue 11 and 12 to finish out the series. And I know from reading the synopsis at the end of issue 9, Sting and Johnny B. Bad are going to square off. So guys, you're not going to want to miss that comic discussion. Alright guys, make sure you subscribe here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.